Devil May Cry 3 is easily one of my favorite Devil May Cry games, despite it occasionally making fun of me for not having a dad.
Father? I don't have a father.
Hello again, people. Today we're going to be talking about one of the hardest action games ever made, Devil May Cry 3. Devil May Cry 3 is the first of many DMC games headed by Hideaki Itsuno, and the first in what I would consider to be the modern Devil May Cry game. I don't count DMC2 because Itsuno was brought in towards the end of development. What do I mean when I say modern Devil May Cry game? Devil May Cry 3 has a specific structure, the structure of missions being tied to completing some sort of task in the number of 20. DMC3 also is what started the staple of Dante receiving a new weapon after killing a boss, a feature every other game will adopt afterward. This game also saw the fleshing out of Dante's moveset. Dante's kit will receive incremental improvements as the series progresses, but with the introduction of the style system, Dante has more moves at his disposal than ever before. Yes, the system is limited as you can only use one style at a time in the vanilla version, a flaw that they fixed in the Switch release, but neglected to do so for Xbox and PlayStation. At least they managed to get Dante into Smash Brothers, right? Anyway, the footage you're seeing right now is on PC, so thankfully I'll have access to the DMC Style Switcher mod, courtesy of Serpentium. Okay, y'all paying attention? Okay, good, because class is in session. I'm about to tell you why DMC3 is regarded as one of the hardest action games ever made. When Devil May Cry 3 was initially released, the difficulty was incredibly high compared to the special edition that was released a year later. Hard mode for the Japan release was actually normal mode for the Western release, and in turn probably is what established Devil May Cry's reputation for being very difficult. Devil May Cry 3 released in 2005, a whole president's term before Demon Souls came out. Aside from Ninja Gaiden, the West didn't have that many games available that were difficult. Let's talk about the style scoring design. Devil May Cry 3 is the first in the series to actually include a meter that builds up with your style points. Racking up style points in Devil May Cry 3 is not actually as difficult as you might think, granted you know what you're doing. The game takes notice of moves you use at a factor of 3. This means you can use 3 different moves from Dante, and after the third, you can begin the first again and your style meter won't be penalized. You also get more style points the more enemies you hit with your attacks, so if you're getting that triple S, you're going to want to keep your enemies close together. Interestingly enough, this game is the last game in the main series to allow Dante to have enemy step from the get-go. Enemy step is a crucial tool for high-level DMC play, as it is the basis for continuing combos mid-air, but we'll go over that in the high technique section. Don't worry, we'll talk about high-level techniques at the end of the video. But before that, let me tell you what demons you're going to be up against. I find it best to divide enemies in DMC3 into 2 categories. Number 1, the good or grounded enemies, or number 2, the flying or annoying ass enemies. Let's start out with the good grounded enemies. The 7 Hells are some of the best demons to come out of the Devil May Cry series. They each have their own movement patterns and sound cues to learn. In most situations, they are all fair demons and most of them can be juggled nicely. Each of the 7 Hells are based off of the 7 deadly sins. Hell Prides are easily dispatched and their attacks are well telegraphed. You can easily take out these demons with the Rebellion Combo A. Hell Envies are only found inside the body of the Leviathan and Bloody Palace. Attack patterns of the Hell Envy are almost identical to the Pride, however they have slightly more health and they are much more difficult to launch in the air. For number 3 we have the Hell Wrath, very slow moving enemies, but once you get close to them you'll find they have a very explosive personality. It's best to hang back and use your firearms to take them out. This can actually be to your benefit if there are many demons surrounding them. The Hell Sloth live up to their name, as they don't typically walk around, they teleport to their victims. There is a sound cue before they teleport, so keep your ears open for that. The Hell Greed is a summoner type enemy. It'll summon lesser demons around it if it's not taken out quickly. Also watch out for its coffin as it whips it around. The Hell Greed is stationary and cannot be launched into the air. The Hell Gluttony has a sand attack that is easily avoided if you stay behind them. You can launch these guys into the air just fine. And finally we have the Hell Lust, the most agile of the 7 Hells. They have a dedicated lunge attack that is preceded by a sound cue. Dodge this attack with Trickster or block it with Royal Guard. The Damned Chessmen are all enemies based off their corresponding chess piece. A great idea in theory, but here comes the hot take. I actually think these enemies are pretty brain dead. Realistically, these enemies are here to just practice jump cancels most of the time. They're slow, they can't be juggled, and some of them are just dead as soon as you get behind them. Yes, the chessboard fight that they are building up to is a cool one, but these pieces in isolation are not very stimulating if you're looking for some stylish juggling. Pretty much all of the chessmen can be dispatched easily with Beowulf. The Arachna come in two forms, the ones that scream, and the green ones that scream louder. But seriously, these enemies are a solid middle ground for balancing fun and challenge. Each attack has a sound cue to learn, but you'll soon learn that the more of these you fight, the more unfair the fight can seem, as it is absolutely possible for you to straight up be attacked off screen or shot at with some web. They are also very agile for their size, as getting one to sit still proves to be a more daunting task than fighting Virgil's child support payments.
Scum.
The Abyss works as a combination of the 7 hells. It has the agility of the Lust, it has the ability to teleport, and it has a ranged attack similar to the Gluttony. They're tanky and difficult to pin down, but predictable when fighting a group. Hit stun is your friend, as they can be taken aback just as easily as the Hell Demons. Now we get to the flying or annoying ass enemy section. I'm calling it this because Enigmas cannot fly, but look how fast the Enigma moves, he might as well be flying. That being said, most of these enemies are annoying as hell to fight, even when fought as intended. Blood goyles are the easiest to manage and the least annoying. Slashing them will divide them up into greater numbers, so you're going to have to shoot them with your guns, and then break them like a Kit Kat bar. I actually really like these enemies, I wish they would have made a return in 4 or 5. The Doulahan are assholes. These boys are straight up out of Steven Universe, as the only way to kill them is to target their crystal gem weak spot. They absolutely bring a halt to the flow of gameplay, as you are forced to directly walk up behind them. A well-timed royal block can stun it for a duration. Quicksilver is also useful. I swear, Soul Eaters seem like a April Fool's joke at Capcom that just got out of hand. Someone from the programming team was like, "Hey, Itsuno-san, I have a great idea for a new demon design." Okay, let's hear it. The demon is impervious to damage and invisible unless Dante is looking away from it. Oh, I get it, so you can't even target the enemy for more than 2 seconds because Dante has to look at the demon to target it. That's hilarious. Yeah, April Fool's Itsuno, I got you. That was one of my gag ideas. Itsuno's still laughing. Yeah, I'm gonna take this over to the art department, see if they can work something out. Hey Itsuno, we finished the new Soul Eater demon design. What? Well, just use it anyway. And finally we have the Fallen, and in all honesty, these demons would not be that bad if they didn't have the annoying as shit ability to phase through walls. Remember in the prologue video where I talked about questions and answers? Well, evidently, we don't have an answer for these motherfuckers just no clipping out of reality. No, seriously, where are you guys going? To the freaking back rooms? Also, they can absolutely attack you from inside a wall, so that's great. You're going to want to use Agni and Rudra to break their shield, and then use a ranged weapon like the shotgun or Artemis. You're probably going to want to go with Artemis because Artemis has the multi-shot ability when paired with Gunslinger. Hey, do you want to know about Devil May Cry 3's elemental damage system? Well, pay attention, and I'll tell you. Let's talk about Devil Arms, because we got a lot of them. Rebellion is a sword that I always take with me. I never leave the home without it, because of its versatility. It can juggle, parry, stun. The Rebellion is the number 1 choice for me. Number 2 would be the sweet Beowulf gauntlets, which are a hand-me-down from Dante's older brother Virgil. Agni and Rudra are a solid pair of swords with their own spice. Cerberus is a 3-handled nunchuck. Finally, we have Navan. Navan is the coolest idea for a weapon, but I think this weapon is a case of form over function. Sorry for sounding like an absolutionist, but devil arms are for slashing, guns are for shooting projectiles. Speaking of guns, we got Ebony, Ivory, and the shotgun. They're in almost every single Devil May Cry game for good reason. They're fine baseline tools for hit stun and are very useful against the Blood Goyle enemies. Artemis is good for some AoE, as it gives you some nice multi-target abilities. Kalina Ann is very useful during missions 19 and 20 boss fights, and Spiral is very useful if you're not planning on having any fun. Each Devil Arm has an element attached to it, corresponding to the boss you get that weapon from. Using that weapon against a boss of a weaker element will do more damage. Let's talk about this here tower. Throughout the game, you'll travel up the tower, back down, and back up again. I hope Dante has his Fitbit on him so he can count all them steps. The Temene Gru is a more confined environment filled with cramped hallways. Luckily, boss fights are given their own arenas, consisting of bigger rooms. Enemies can make these hallways feel even more cramped at times, but thankfully with intelligent enemy placement, you'll never see an enemy like the Arachna in these cramped hallways. Most flying enemies will appear in rooms with a lot of breathing space as well. For the most part, you'll have plenty of room to chase down and catch them. Unless they phase through the damn wall. Still on the topic of level design, these damned rooms with the circular saws need to chill out. It is so annoying the enemy demons can just chill on these blades like it's Saturday, while I'm just here being tossed around like a pinball taking damage from them, as more often than not, taking damage from one launches you into another. It's not all bad, as sometimes you get these pulls scattered throughout the game that allow Dante to return to Monkey. Okay, we've talked about demons' weapons. Settle in, okay? We're going to be going over every single boss in Devil May Cry 3. Not sure if this is a hot take or not. I don't really regard the Hell Vanguard as a boss. Best way to dispatch this one is to use Royal Guard to block their attacks. It's going to take some trial and error, but you'll learn. Cerberus is a fixed boss confined to one side of the room. This doggo will cover themselves in ice, so you're going to have to break it. I would recommend using the shotgun over Ebony and Ivory, and above all else, don't be afraid of this puppy. Run up, shoot him with the shotty, jump off his head, shoot him again. You might get hit, but don't be scared, you're learning his attack patterns. Assess the threat, remember? If you're playing vanilla with no mods and only have access to one style, you're going to want to use Swordmaster. If you're playing on a New Game Plus, you're going to want to use Agni and Rudra. Fire, weak against ice. After breaking the ice, try to hit him in the head, don't bother trying to hit his hands. With enough solid blows to the head, hopefully the puppy will get tired. Get in closer and mash the Swordmaster button for big boy damage. Gigapede will fly around the room, so you're going to want to jump on its back and aim for the head. Rebellion, or Agni and Rudra, are good for this fight. You can deflect the purple attacks with Swordmaster. Don't try and chase down Gigapede, wait for him to come to you. There are 3 times you can fight Jester in the Special Edition. All of these fights are the same premise, they just add more mechanics with each fight. Shooting at Jester will make him dance, but if you use the Kalina Ann, he'll immediately become tired. Royal Guard is very useful for deflecting these bouncy balls. Every good block you get with Royal Guard will net you some DT gauge. If you have more than 3 DT gauge, you can hold the Devil Trigger button to charge it up. As soon as Jester becomes tired again, release the charge on top of him for big damage. Jester's face ball is a nuisance to kill, but you can ignore it. The Agni and Rudra boss fight can be a pain if you let them overwhelm you. If you kill one, the surviving member will combine the swords and be much harder to kill, so you're going to want to try and kill them at the same time. You're going to want to use Cerberus and Rebellion for this fight. Cerberus for Agni, and Rebellion for Rudra. Check this out. If you time your attack to strike just before they do, you can knock their sword out of their hands and stun them. Keep in mind, Cerberus does bonus damage to Agni, but not to Rudra. You'll want to bring Rebellion because parrying their attacks is very easy to do with Rebellion's Swordmaster ability. Virgil 1 is a simple boss fight compared to 2 and 3. Keep your distance to learn his attacks and use Trickster to get behind them. If he teleports away, you can probably expect an attack is coming. Trickster Dash will give you invincibility frames so you don't have to dash away from him. Get up behind him and attack him using the weapon switching technique. We'll go over this technique at the end of the video. The Leviathan will require a mix of Cerberus and Agni and Rudra respectively. When one health bar is taken out, the main organ thing will come down, which you should probably attack with Agni and Rudra. The big organ thing in the center will start to flash red, implying that it will start to use its laser attack. Jump over this. It's also best to ignore the Hell Envies that spawn in the room. They'll spawn indefinitely, and if anything, they're best used as human shields to block against the orb attacks. Navon is actually really fun to fight, but they have a lot of sound cues that you need to be aware of. If she's getting ready, give her some space. If she starts laughing, give her an uppercut. If she wants to put you to sleep, look for the lightning bolt and then take to the sky, and shoot her with Ebony and Ivory to keep yourself there. If Navon asks if you're enjoying yourself, get ready to dodge with Trickster. Honestly, Trickster or Swordmaster will work fine here. When she gets down to a certain amount of health, she'll try to give you a bear hug. Don't fall for this. Beowulf's Achilles heel is located in his one good eye. Attack the eye and then get behind him. Beowulf also has an AoE cone attack. You're going to want to be behind him for this as well. When he gets to a low level of health, he's going to start shooting these feather daggers at you. This attack luckily does have a sound cue and can be easily absorbed with Royal Guard. Girion has 2 phases. Phase 1 teaches you to jump on his back. Phase 2 is more complicated. Girion will start to run around the room and spawn Quicksilver orbs. If you touch one, time will slow down and Girion will attack you. When Girion is mobile, try to get on his back if you can. When they are stationary, try to get as many helm breakers as possible. If you do enough damage to Girion's head, they will fall down to the ground. Virgil 2 has got to be one of my favorite fights. Virgil's fight pattern is roughly the same as in Virgil 1, but the kicker here is actually his dropkick attack. Very punishing if you're not prepared for it. Periodically throughout the fight, Virgil will activate his own double trigger. Virgil will slowly regain health, and his attacks will deal a considerable more amount of damage. Virgil doesn't have any elemental weaknesses, so you're just going to want to use Rebellion and Agni and Ruja. You can deal more consistent damage to Virgil by using the weapon switching technique. I'll explain to you how to do that in the high level techniques section in just a moment. Lady is not a very agile boss fight on account of her being human. When Lady is mobile, she'll be using her grappling hook. Make sure you stay away from her when she does this. She will graciously let you know when she's about to shoot you with her Kalina and. Whenever she Spider-Mans away, make sure you don't follow her too closely. Just let her go and she'll turn up again later. She'll most likely turn up on one of the library's bookcases. Lady will start to lob grenades your way. Keep an eye on the ground and make sure you aren't above one when they go off. Doppelganger is a test of how well you know yourself. Many of Doppelganger's attacks mirror Dante's. Attack the lamps until they are lit. If you catch the boss close to you when you open a lamp, it will stun them. Dope will periodically try to close the lamps, but luckily you can deflect them with an attack of your own. Typically Drive or Helmbreaker work just fine. Dope is weak against Beowulf. You can open up the lamps quickly by using Rebellion's Swordmaster ability. Like I said before, Arkham's fight is simplified when using Kalina Ann. When Arkham leaves the room, a bunch of demon dolphins will sprout out of the ground to try and kill you. Kalina Ann can dispatch them quickly. For the last part of the fight, Virgil shows up and fights by your side. This mechanic works very similarly to the Doppelganger style, except your shadow is Virgil. Virgil will attack on his own when you press the attack button. There is an attack which Arkham can use to grab Dante. When this happens, your control is directly switched to Virgil. Use Virgil's attacks to free yourself. And finally, we get to Virgil 3. Virgil 3, of course, is a combination of the two previous boss fights with the addition of Force Edge. When Virgil enters Devil Trigger, he can go into a frenzy of Helmbreakers. Whenever he uses Devil Trigger, he will begin to heal, so it is imperative that Virgil be attacked the moment he exits Devil Trigger. Just like before, the iframes that Trickster give you will be invaluable for this fight. Same approach as before. If Virgil teleports, then you know an attack is coming. Try your best to get behind him. If Virgil teleports away and stays gone, there's a good chance the room is about to fill up with rapid slashes. Okay, it's finally time to talk about the advanced techniques of Devil May Cry 3. Now that we have the context of all the enemies and weapons and techniques, you, dear viewer, are ready to begin the big leagues of DMC play. If you have any extra techniques you want to add, go ahead and add them in the comment section. We'll try and start out with moves that are simple and go to the ones that are more complex. The first technique we'll be talking about is directional switching. When Dante is locked onto an enemy, they will face that enemy. But by letting go of the lock-on button, you can use the stick to change Dante's direction mid-combo in case a demon is charging an attack from behind. Pretty useful during the Agni and Rudra boss fight. Next technique is weapon switching. It's not just about switching the weapons, it's about doing so with the correct timing to keep the combo going. Rebellion Combo A consists of 3 attack button presses, but after the 3rd button press, weaker demons will be sent flying backwards. We don't want this, we want to continue the damage. After the 2nd hit of Rebellion Combo A, press the weapon switch button once. Then begin attacking with the 2nd weapon, preferably Agni and Rudra or Cerberus. After the 2nd hit, switch again, rinse and repeat. Proper timing and practice will mean that you can indefinitely continue to attack enemies while on the ground. Granted, they don't block or parry. You can do this with Swordmaster actions as well. If you're having trouble getting the timing down for the weapon switching technique, simply try to take it one segment at a time. At first, start by just attacking with Rebellion twice, and then stopping. Then, attack twice with Rebellion, and then switch to Agni and Rudra. Once you get that down, attack with Rebellion twice, switch to Agni and Rudra, and then attack with Agni and Rudra twice. Keep going until you can get the full timing down. Okay, now it's time for gun switching. Basically the same premise, but the timing on this one is more lenient. The significance of this technique is to allow you to shoot a gun at a faster rate the game normally doesn't allow you to, by masking it with Ebony and Ivory. Rapidly firing Ebony and Ivory and then switching guns will allow you to shoot that gun immediately. Switching back will allow you to continue this process. You can use the same technique for Spiral and Shotgun. You can also fire the shotgun faster by simply jumping, transferring from air shot to ground shot. Sometimes you will need to cancel an attack animation to adapt to a situation. You can cancel almost any attack animation on the ground or in the air with Royal Guard. In the middle of an attack animation, use Royal Guard and Dante will immediately stop and you can begin your next attack. Royal Guard can be used to avoid damage from anything from enemy attacks to hazards in the level. Air Rave and Floating. Simply attacking while in midair will stop Dante, then he will begin to gradually fall to the ground. Ebony and Ivory are hard baked to stop you from falling for a short duration. So, if you use an attack that can stop Dante in midair, like Navon's style action, and pair it with a single shot from Ebony and Ivory, you can increase your airtime tremendously. And now we can get into the bread and butter of high-level DMC play. All stemming from Enemy Step, an ability that allows Dante to jump off an enemy's head, refreshing his jumps and his attacks. The Enemy Step window in Devil May Cry 3 is very forgiving compared to the other games. Enemy stepping is the key to jump canceling. Normally jumping in midair and attacking will eventually take you all the way to the ground. A jump cancel is when you jump off an enemy's head, refreshing your attack abilities and your jumps. You attack the enemy again and jump off their head again, rinse and repeat. With proper timing, you can do this almost indefinitely. Combining JCs and air raves and float techniques will allow you to juggle demons effortlessly. You can switch weapons between JCs as well. Jumping off an enemy's head will also refresh your trickster dashes. All of these techniques put together look a little something like this. And there we go. That's everything there is to know about DMC3. I covered everything, right? Yep, that's everything. That's everything the game has to offer. That's everything I need to cover.
Where's your motivation?
Okay, let's talk about Virgil. I've been kind of avoiding DMC3 Virgil for the most part, simply because his Devil May Cry 4 and 5 forms are so much better. DMC3 Virgil is nowhere near as fleshed out as DMC4 and 5 Virgil, but he has some tricks up his sleeve. He's not bad. Virgil's playstyle is very different to Dante's. Virgil's not really designed to move around. He's designed to teleport over to enemies. Yes, you could run up to demons, but teleporting is what seems to be intended. Dark Slayer is tied to teleport, so sometimes it can mess you up if you lock onto something that's not an enemy, like a trash can. Virgil gets 3 weapons you can't change the order of without mods. Yamato, unfortunately, doesn't have an air launcher attack, so it kinda gets in the way sometimes. Yamato is best used when you're already in midair. That being said, Virgil can JC and weapon switch with varying degrees compared to Dante. I'll have much more to say about Virgil when we get to Devil May Cry 4 and 5. Completing higher difficulties in DMC3 will unlock costumes. Devil May Cry 3 has an amazing assortment of costumes. 6 for Dante, 4 for Virgil, and 1 for Lady. I think I'll also take time to talk about the Bloody Palace, because you know what? I think the Bloody Palace in DMC3 is the best in the series. This is why. Number 1. DMC3 Bloody Palace has 10,000 levels compared to the other game's 101. Yes, some of those are just 3 Hell Wraths, but still, 10,000 levels. Number 2, you get more of a say in how your journey unfolds. At the end of every level, 3 portals will open. One will give you health, one will give you DT, one will give you nothing, but it will allow you to progress the fastest. And that's about it. It kinda sucks that DMC4 and 5 have only 101 rooms, because let me tell you, as someone who played DMC4 Bloody Palace levels 1 through 12 hundreds of times, it would have been nice to have some variety. But we'll talk more about that in the DMC4 video. DMC3 is an amazing milestone for the series. Every aspect of the modern Devil May Cry game can be traced in some way back to Devil May Cry 3. Yes, you can do the same with Devil May Cry 1 and 2, but Devil May Cry 1 and 2 had a separate formula, if you will. Devil May Cry 3 is what really molded the framework for the series. Devil May Cry 4 and 5 have a 20 mission structure, just like 3. Dante in 4 and 5 receives new weapons after every boss, just like 3. Of course, there will be incremental changes to the style scoring system and level design, but DMC3 should be known as the standard for quality when it comes to action games, not just Devil May Cry games. I really hope you all learned a lot in this one. Next up, I'll be doing a video about Devil May Cry 4 and Devil May Cry 4 Special Edition. Devil May Cry 4 is what I have the most experience with. You're going to want to be there to watch that one because I'm going to tell you why Devil May Cry 4 could have possibly been the best action game ever made. Thank you all so much for watching. Goodbye.